In the past 5 years, I've read dozens and dozens of productivity, self-improvement, and business books. But the 4-Hour Workweek stands the test of time. Here are 17 lessons from this book that will help you shortcut your way to living your dream life and working less. Lesson number 1, you can live the life that you want to right now, but you have to define it. And defining it involves asking yourself, what is enough? What does that look like? What do I really want? And those are seriously difficult questions to answer, but a lot of the concepts in this book are going to help you figure out what that life will look like. If you're stuck in a job that you don't like, just know that money is not the problem. It's the lifestyle that your money is trying to pay for that might be the problem. If you got a mortgage, an expensive car payment, a bunch of services, all those things require you to work a certain amount to pay for them. It's lifestyle servitude. To have the lifestyle, you are now a slave to your job to make enough money to live that lifestyle. Maybe that is it. Maybe that's okay. Then it's not really servitude. You're just working to live the life that you want. But if that's the life that you don't want and it's not making you happy, then it is servitude. And this reminds me of the story of the investment banker and the Mexican farmer, where a banker goes to a village and sees sees a fisherman fishing fish on top of his boat, and the farmer has a lot of free time, and in that free time he naps with his wife, he plays guitar, he sips wine with his friends, he just has a busy life. But the banker says that he could fish more, buy more boats, hire people, build a cannery business, start an enterprise, move to New York City, IPO his business, sell its stock for millions of dollars, and then in 30 years, he can now go live a life of leisure by fishing and playing with his kids and napping with his wife, playing guitar, sipping wine. But the fisherman declines and says, well, I'm already doing that. There's no point in me going through all that hard work to live the life that I already live. Something that a lot of people do, maybe they're already living the life that they want, but there's this notion that you need to make more and more and more. For what? And until we can define that for what, there's really no need to continue sacrificing our early years to make more money. Instead, we're chasing a certain life that we want, not necessarily the money that can afford it. Lesson number 2, if what you're doing right now isn't working, then do something else. Just because something goes against conventional wisdom doesn't necessarily mean that it can't work. So when I was working a 9-to-5 job, I dreaded it. I hated going to work. I didn't know what to do. That was the path. My parents always pushed me down that path. I didn't really stumble onto anything else until I started exploring different side hustles, like finding things at Goodwill and trying to sell them for more money on eBay, learning to program, learning Forex trading. And through all that experimentation, that's how I stumbled onto content creation, which is what I'm doing right now. But back in the day, that was weird. No one said, hey, you should try content creation. You can make lots of money. You can live the life that you want. No one really said that. Instead, they saw it as a risk that we were taking by quitting our full-time jobs and then doing the online YouTube business. But nowadays, that's a very common pursuit for young teenagers and college students nowadays as a very viable source of income. So it's effective. It wasn't common, it wasn't conventional, but it is effective. There's probably something in your life that isn't working, and you can try something else that might make it work even better. There are an infinite number of ways to make it work. You just need to find the way that works for you. There's a quote about Charlie Munger that says that you have to trust your own judgment even when it runs counter to the wisdom of the herd. Lesson number 3, break the rules of conventional wisdom and go against the recommended path. A lot of the lessons are going to support this one, but the main thing that I took away from this is that don't defer your life right now for retirement. Retirement is merely a backup plan. So the recommended path is like what I mentioned before. Go to school, get good grades, get a nice job, work for 40, 50 years, save a bunch of money, and then retire at 65. Retirement is just a backup plan. You want to make money to live the life that you want right now. Even though your retirement looks like it's going to be in the multiple millions of dollars with inflation and with how long you're going to have to live and medical expenses, that number is not as big as it may look. Lesson number 4, the biggest obstacle in your life is fear. And fear can present itself in many ways. One of the most insidious ways that it can appear as is optimistic denial. It's when you're in your unfortunate situation that you don't enjoy, but you say things like, oh, it'll get better next year. Oh, it'll be better when I get a raise, when you do something. But then you look back a year or 2 or 3 and nothing has changed. So with optimistic denial, because you now think that it will just get better on its own, you're not going to take any action. In a video that I saw by Alex Hermosi, he said that a lot of people don't change or take any action because they haven't hit rock bottom. Your life is not bad enough to take action. It feels bearable or tolerable, but how long are you going to tolerate that? If it were that bad, you feel compelled to change. So what you're doing is even worse than hitting rock bottom, because you're stuck in this mediocre situation and you're tolerating it infinitely. Lesson number 5, don't ask what you want to do. Instead, ask yourself, what sounds most exciting? When you ask yourself what you want to do, there are just too many options. Like, I could want to go to Japan, want to learn the guitar, want to learn to do martial arts, to swim, to surf. There's too many answers. But what out of all those sounds the most exciting? Define your dreams and you'll be able to achieve them sooner, which moves us on to lesson number 6, that free time won't suddenly make your life better. Instead, with that free time, you need to figure out what to do with it. And that moves us into an exercise called dreamlining. Dreamlining is when you attach a timeline to your dreams, and your dreams must be specifically defined, unrealistic, and something that you do instead of the time that you spend working. There are steps to do dreamlining. So you want 2 timelines, a 6-month timeline and a 12-month timeline. And under each of those timelines, you list 5 things that you want to have, 5 things you want to be, and 5 things you want to do. So pause the video, do that. And then when you have all those, you change your to be's into to do's, which are more actionable. So for example, if I wanted to be fluent in Japanese, my to do would then be have a 10-minute conversation with someone in Japanese. Next step would be to pick 4 things on each timeline. And then on each one, you would calculate the cost of everything in monthly income. How much does it cost to do all those things monthly? Whether you're financing it or eventually saving the money to pay for it, what is the monthly income? Then you come up with 3 immediate steps that you can do right now, and then you do it. So no procrastinating or putting it off. Lesson number 7, unproductive busyness is bad. Stop doing it. Time management is flawed. If you need to fit more and more things into your day, then that just means you're not being very effective with your time. So we value effectiveness over efficiency. So the goal is to do less things, spend less time on them, but do the things that actually move the needle and move you forward. The next 2 lessons are going to help us do that. The first one is the Pareto principle, which is also known as the 80-20 principle. So you just need to ask yourself 2 questions here and do those. What 20% of things bring me the most happiness? Do more of those. What 20% things bring me the most unhappiness, and do less of those. Combined with lesson number 8, which is Parkinson's law, restrict time and you'll be more effective. So have really short deadlines and you will focus and get the things done that need to get done. And all of those things can be combined into, if you only had 2 hours a day to work, what would you do? If you only had 2 hours a week to work, what would you do? Lesson number 10, consume less information. Information that is not instantly pertinent and not actionable is a waste of our brain space and our current time. If you say, I'm going to use that someday, you're going to end up forgetting and then have to go back and reread the information anyways. So Tim Ferriss also talks about ignoring things such as the news. And I haven't consumed any news, like seriously consumed news in over a decade. And the world still moves on. You can read headlines. If something truly is important, you'll see it in the world in multiple touch points, and then you'll realize, oh, that's important. One way that I like to seek out information is by reading books, but my time is super limited because of my 7-month-old baby, and that's why I use Shortform, which is the sponsor of today's video. I provide book guides and summaries on a bunch of books. My favorite subjects are self-improvement, productivity, and lifestyle, and there's a ton more, but I recently read a refresher and a book guide on atomic habits. I like to touch on that every single year because it really is a life-changing book. So if you do want to check out short form, they are offering you a 20% discount and a free trial on their membership options. Go to shortform.com/Betty to check that out. Overall, it costs less than buying a book every single month. Lesson number 11, come up with rules around interruptions. Interruptions decrease your productivity by 30%. I think I read a study on it. I mentioned it in another video, but every interruption you get, it takes about 23 minutes to get back to work. And interruptions such as email and meetings and any other time wasters, you need rules around them. So one rule would be like checking email only twice a day. Another could be pretending you're on a phone call when people ask you for something, a conversation. When you're on the phone, you're like, hey, I got something else to do. Like, what's up? You want to just be more actionable about conversations in general rather than letting them go whichever way and just become small talk and then a waste of time. Lesson 12, learn how to do remote work. Doing this forces you to create systems and rules for your business or for your job that you wouldn't have done otherwise, since you need to do it wherever you would be, if you're traveling or not, if you're home. You don't want to be stuck in the office all day. So to do this, you can practice working in new environments and then solving the problems out that way. Lesson 13, which is something that I'm still struggling with, is that almost everything you do can be done by a VA. Unless it's an actual physical task, but then a VA can just get someone to do the physical task. Like if you need the toilet plumbed, a VA can go call someone to get that done. Let go of control, get a VA, and learn to delegate. Delegation is a skill that takes time. I still struggle with delegation, but I am trying to let go of more and more of my workday. So the best things to delegate would be time-consuming tasks that are very specific that can be done remotely. Have really great, clear instructions. Ask them to check in after a couple hours so that they're not getting derailed by doing the wrong thing, and only get them to do 1 to 2 things at a time. Lesson 14, don't run a business, own a business. He talks about a checklist for businesses, and the best ones are ones where you're selling a product or a service. It's cheap to test, it requires little maintenance, and it's automatic. I know YouTube is not exactly the perfect cash flowing machine, but the algorithm sort of scales it for you and projects you out into the world without me having to do the outbound marketing myself. Requires little maintenance and it's sort of automatic. It's just I record these videos once a week and then post them on the internet. It's not amazing. I'm getting close to it, but a product or service would be really amazing. Lesson 15, plan and have mini retirements. Doing mini retirements lets you alternate to sprinting and resting. So he does 2 months of work and then 1 month of a mini retirement. That could constitute as living somewhere else or learning a cool skill and really hyper specializing into that. But this forces you to 1, be able to work remotely, and 2, have systems in place for when you are away from work. In that entire month that you're like off the grid almost, your business is still running and still being able to sustain your life. Lesson 16, when you're on mini retirement, to make it fruitful and not feel like it's too restful. I feel this way about vacations. I tend to drive myself crazy because all I think about is going back to work. But to counteract this, you can 1, learn a local language, and 2, learn a physical skill that is related to the area that you're in. So if you're in like Thailand or something, you can try to learn kickboxing or whatever martial arts is related to where you're at, and then of course learn the language. And lesson 17, which I've been trying to do as much as possible because it truly saves so much time, is decreasing decisions. But if you have decisions, setting rules and automations around them. So I've been using the thought to action framework a lot, and that's when you have a thought, you have an action associated to that so that you stop ruminating in this thought loop cycle. And there are some different rules that he has. He has a VA make the decision if it is a non-critical decision that costs less than $100, and anybody can make it. It doesn't really matter. Other things are to not procrastinate on making decisions because it takes a toll on your brain, but also on the time that you spend thinking about it. So try to make the decision as fast as possible and then automate that decision making process to make it easier for next time. I hope these lessons are helpful to you This book has been a crazy life changer for me because before I read this, I really wanted to find like the perfect job or the job that I would enjoy. But by reading this book, it's like you don't have to find the job you enjoy. You just need to find the job that's going to fund the lifestyle that you enjoy and gets you excited. So instead of trying to be excited about a job, I'm now excited about the life that the job can pay for. And if it is a job, well, that's fine. It makes money. But I do enjoy YouTube. So I hope these lessons can help you get the life that you want faster. I'm still working through these things myself. Things are just a little different with a little human that needs your attention all the time and is growing up really quickly, yet so slowly at the same time. But if you need to save more time in your life, here are 14 habits that are going to help you save 20 plus hours a week. And check out short form using the link down below or at shortform.com/Betty to help you read books more effectively.